Welcome into another episode of Coastin here on FloHockey.tv. I'm Evan Pivnik, voice of the Adirondack Thunder, always joined by David Fine, the voice of the Reading Royals. And today we have a great guest, a guy who's pretty much done it all in terms of professional hockey. He's been around for a long time and continues his career. Well, he was originally going to be with the Adirondack Thunder this season, but since the cancellations of some teams, that leads to a lot of training for our next guest. It's Pete MacArthur. Pete, thanks for joining us, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me. It's fun to see you guys doing this and keeping people aware of what's going on with what's a very high-level professional hockey league. So thanks for having
me. You're a big ambassador to the ECHL, not only from the fact that, you have played in the ECHL for a substantial period of time, but just from the way you operate in terms of on the ice and off the ice. You're an older guy now. Every time you go into a locker room, you're a leader. How do you kind of view that role? And when in the point of your career, did that role kind of kick in, or was it just instinctually?
I think I've been fortunate to be around a lot of good people, whether it was my parents, my siblings growing up. They're all teachers. They played sports and had success in sports. And then just every coach I had along the way had something to offer. My coach in Northwood was Tom Fleming. He's a legend. Boston University, Jack Parker, legend. Waterloo Blackhawks, P.K. O'Hanley, legend. And then in the pro hockey, I could name a lot of guys, but you specifically get to a guy like Cale McLean, who was my first coach back when we came back from Europe. And then, you seamlessly transition into a guy like Alex Lowe, where it's just expected. That's the standard that's set. And if you're not a leader, if you're not a good guy, you're out. You're gone. I don't care how good you are. So it's fun to be around people like that. Especially when you grew up in a household and around people who had realistic expectations of you, but they just set a good example to where if you weren't absorbing that knowledge, then you just weren't a good person, right? You just weren't going to be successful. So a lot of good guidance, a lot of good people around me. And I just like that role. It's fun to be able to go and play and have an impact on the game. But for me at my age, it's more fun to be impactful, helping other guys. Like a guy like Ryan Lomberg, who I'm texting with this morning after he got in a fight last night. I got to play with him a lot his first year of pro hockey. And did I make it to the NHL level to play? No, I didn't. I think I maybe could have if I got a chance. But for me, to see a guy like Lombo make it and get a one-way in the NHL, that makes me just as happy as scoring the game-winning goal for the Thunder in the playoffs. It really does. So just that mixture of being able to play and have an impact, but also be impactful off the ice, probably even more so for me, that keeps me going.
Well, it's interesting hearing your enthusiasm about the leadership. And it's something that we've touched on a few times with guys, whether it's a rookie that was a captain in college or a guy that was captain in junior. What specifically about the off-ice leadership do you try to bring to the table for the guys?
I think it's important to stay within yourself and learn what works for you. Cale and Alex have the moniker, get what you need, right? If I'm looking to my left or right, I might have a guy that's 6'4", 240 pounds, and he needs something completely different than I need. Food, training, rest, it's different than the guy from my right also. So if you can learn to pick up different pieces and elements from the guys around you, but worry about making sure that you're ready to go for your team, I think that's a great lesson to learn, not only hockey, but in life, right? They tell you on the airplane, you put the oxygen mask on before your infant child, because if you're dead, you're no good to anybody, right? So the better you can be yourself, the better you're going to help your team. And that's not selfish. That's just how it should be. So it's been a fun ride, kind of learning that not only myself, but then trying to implement it with guys that you're around as well. And to see them grasp it, and implement is it's special. It's really fun to be a part of, especially at our level.
You got into a strange situation last year when, you were playing out in Italy and the whole pandemic struck, and Italy was one of the places where it struck the hardest, the quickest. Kind of take me through that time where your season came to an end and you guys were stuck inside for a while.
Yeah, it was a whirlwind. I was supposed to be done playing hockey, and an offer came out of nowhere. And it was actually, we were supposed to be there for 3 years. And it turned into 3 months really, really quickly. So we had finished our regular season. Things were kind of picking up. We were hearing some little birdies, and we weren't sure really what was going on because they were trying to keep it under wraps over there. They didn't want mass hysteria or panic. So I literally got to the rink on, I think it was the 12th of March. And President Trump at the time had just said, if you're out of the country, get home by the 13th. So we showed up at the rink at maybe 9 or 10 in the morning and ripped up my contract, gave me a doctor's note, gave us plane tickets. They said, pack your apartment and meet us at the rink at midnight. Meet us at the rink at midnight. So me and my family packed our whole apartment up, met them at the rink at midnight, had our notes to get through. We had to take back roads through Italy, Germany, and Austria just to get to Munich. A bunch of stops on the way. It was 27 hours of travel, straight travel with my son, wife. My wife was pregnant. But we were fortunate. As soon as we left the next day, anybody that was in Brunico, you're not going outside. Like we had guys getting €250 fines if they were found outside of their house. So we got lucky in that aspect that we weren't stuck inside overseas. And we were really fortunate they got us plane tickets right away. They got us the necessary paperwork. But yeah, it was a fire drill. But they did a great job informing us kind of late. But when they had the information, they got us back home. It was a long 27 hours, but we were very grateful to be back home and safe and able to check in with our family and friends and whatnot, and then kind of piece our life back together a little bit.
It's interesting too. And I think back on the weeks leading up to when the United States started shutting down and everything started going a little haywire. And I'm fortunate enough that my dad, he's actually worked in pharmaceuticals, not directly trying to solve the coronavirus, but he's been part of like research. And, he's just Piv's met him before. He's a lot smarter than I am for sure. So that when I'm around him, when I'm around him and Piv, those are two of the people in the room are smarter than me. But
okay.
The thing he said, it's interesting because the thing he said to me is, this is the United States in 3 to 4 weeks. And that was like in March. And then when our season got shut down, we learned that, he's right. 3 or 4 weeks later, it was what would end up happening in the United States. For it to be the first European country that was really hammered had to be I couldn't imagine how surreal it was at the time, because I think of the United States shutting down and it was preemptive to a certain extent 2 or 3 weeks before everything got really bad. You're talking March 12th in Italy. That would be like, April 20th or something in the United States. How surreal was that turnaround from it's done and now I got to get the heck out and back home?
It was crazy. It slowly, the people in the town started to disappear. It was like a ghost town, like an apocalypse. And they had the preliminary notices on all the doors. Please stay 10 feet away from people. But, we played a game in Asiago. I think it was the 10th or the 11th. And the next day they shut that whole city down. They shut the rink down, disinfected it. We're like, what is going on here? Because over there, our news is limited. I had an apartment where we had to buy the internet was different. It wasn't like at the ready for us. So we got piece by piece the information. And then when we got back home, the same thing started again. So we were a little bit prepared. We knew we were going to be hunkered down. With the whirlwind that we were on for our family, it was kind of nice. Like, we don't have any decisions to make. What are we going to do today? Nothing. We're going to eat food and watch movies and piece things back together and gain back some energy, hopefully. But yeah, it was definitely, it's hard to describe. You go from having, it was a 14,000 person, population in Brunico, 14,000 people. That's it. And it seemed like there was negative 14,000 by the time we left there. There's no cars. All the stores are closed. If you wanted to go to the grocery store, it's one person. And that was before it kind of happened in the States. So it was a blessing in disguise a little bit that we had that time to kind of prepare to know what was coming.
You mentioned before that it was, you were thinking you're going to be done with hockey, and then all of a sudden you get this offer to go to Italy. What sprung you to go to that extra mile and say, hey, maybe I got some gas left in the tank?
It was never about the gas, Kevin.
I know that.
It just happened. I kind of was a little bit interested. So I had a guy take my name off the elite prospects. So it said I wasn't retired anymore. And then I woke up to a message. And it was from this team saying they were looking to win. We need an older guy. We don't necessarily need you to come in and score a lot. We want you to come in, lead, help the younger guys. And we want to win a championship. Let's go. It's what I'm all about. I want a ring before I retire. So I asked my wife, she quit her work. Let's go. So, yeah, it was just kind of spur of the moment, but it was a great experience for our family. We got to take a step back after being apart for a while and just be together, like no choice, we're together. So it was fun, even though it ended 3 months into what was supposed to be, a 3-year journey. I wouldn't trade it. I really wouldn't. You kind of learn about the type of resolve you have and what really matters and what's important in life. So I think it all happened for a reason, as cliche as that might sound.
You're a fit guy, but hockey guys like food. I have to imagine Italy would be pretty special with that. The one question I want to ask, though, is so you played, Austria, you played Germany, DEL, and Italy. There's always different things about the food in a certain country that guys like can't adjust to. Like I'm thinking that, in Germany, there's all these meats with breakfast, and like in the US, it wouldn't be. What about some of the food things over the course of being overseas? Are you like, I kind of can't get in line with how they're doing things here?
Oh man. I don't think I could give you one. Like the only thing that I would say negatively about Italy is like they never have scrambled eggs. I always wanted to find an omelet or some scrambled eggs, but they're more about yogurt, muesli, dried meats, fruit in the morning, which is the food's amazing. No, I probably ate a pizza every single day that I was there. But I would say for Italy, I could never find scrambled eggs or an omelet, which I would just crave. As soon as we got home, I forget the name of the hotel, but I was hammering the omelet bar like every morning, just crushing huge omelets. And then for Germany and Austria, no complaints. For me, it would take 1 or 2 weeks for my insides to kind of adapt to how fresh their food is. Like the first time I bought a loaf of bread, I went to open it 2 days later, it was green. And all the fruit, you got to eat it right away. And the meat is much more fresh. There's not as much, crap or whatever that we spray on it over here or inject. So just that adjustment to your body, I think taking that wholesome, natural food, and then you turn over, and I really enjoyed all the food over there. It was, that's probably, other than the hockey, and that's probably the best part is the food, and my wife are foodies.
So I want to cut off Evan for what I would
assume
only logical follow-up question to this, which is that if you've been to the DoubleTree in Reading, Pennsylvania, right downtown there, you're talking about omelets. I mean,
Piver. Talk about that one. Yeah. That's a topic. That's a hot topic. Where are we going? Okay. Oh, we're going to Kalamazoo. I hope the breakfast is open in the zoo, right? Love the breakfast in Kalamazoo. But yeah, I mean, I miss those. I'm ready to come back to Reading for an open breakfast like that.
Do you eat the DoubleTree cookie? Is it gone before you get to the room then?
Oh, dangerous. And my wife, her first ever job was DoubleTree. So sometimes we'll be driving down the highway here. It's like, Pete, let's pop in the DoubleTree, get a cookie. I'm like, we're not staying there. The batteries go out. Like, okay, sounds good.
I'll be honest too, because with the arena being right across the street, I don't think you guys will judge me for this, man. Like if it's a long day at the office or something, or it might be midday and you're like, man, I just had the hardest meetings. Tell me I'm not wrong for taking the 20 steps across the road, walking in, and even just admitting to them, hi, I've had a rough morning across the street with the Royal. Can you mind like passing me a cookie or two? There's nothing wrong. Nothing wrong.
They're not denying you.
No.
They want to make your day. There's never a bad time for a choco chip cookie, guys.
Unfortunately, I cannot have the cookie in Reading because it's filled with walnuts, and that won't be good for me. But it's always nice to see like everyone's face when you get off the bus at 3 or 4 in the morning as they're getting their hotel keys. Like half of them are just like dead, all zonked, walking to the hotel lobby, trying to find their roommate, and there's just fresh cookies made. And the guys are like, one thing that can make me happy right now is the cookie. So again, we appreciate the fine people at the DoubleTree in Reading, Pennsylvania. But yes, a round of applause for them.
Keep them coming.
But going to play in all these different places, how much time did you get actually to explore the areas? But sometimes in some of these European leagues, it's a shorter season, things are a little more condensed. And then once you're done, you're pretty much out of there. How much time did you get to spend in these particular places exploring? And what were some of your favorite places?
We got a fair amount of time to explore. Over in Europe, they encourage you to, every 2 times a year, at least during the season, they have national team breaks, right? So you have a full week and a weekend off, and then another before you start playing games. So a lot of times we would take off. So we visited places like Venice. We went to Paris. We went to Budapest. We went to Prague. We went to Sancerre, which is a small village in Switzerland. So we definitely got some culture, got to taste some different food, meet different types of people. And for me, I just love to look out the window. Like the landscape over there is, the farm country. It's something to behold. It's absolutely stunning. And in the individual cities itself, we got some time to do some exploring as well. In Augsburg, one of the coolest things we did, we visited this place. It's called the Fugerei, and it's actually the first project housing in I think in the world, or maybe it's Europe. I could be wrong. Don't quote me there. Okay. But it costs, it costs €1 a year to live in the Fugerei. And the coolest part for me about it was it was developed when there was no electricity, right? Or running water. So the way people would get home at night, out front of each individual residence with their smaller places, there would be a different type of apparatus that would be hung from their door. So you'd walk from door to door and feel the apparatus. And if that one was yours, that's your house. So I thought that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I know it was burned down several times during the wars, but it's unbelievable to walk through something like that, knowing it's the first of its kind. And I guess the waiting list to live in there is just insane. €1, and people can live there for the whole year, have everything taken care of. So that's one thing that I thought was special. We visited Munich a bunch of times. We went to Oktoberfest, which that could be for a different podcast. But we certainly, like I said, lots of food though, lots of walking with a glass of wine or a beer to a new restaurant, or taking the guys and going having lunch after practice to a different place and trying to order your food, in the native language. It's just fun to get outside of your comfort zone. So, but I think the Fugerei was definitely, if I had to name one thing that was unique and a little bit different, I think that was probably one of the coolest things I've ever experienced.
To take it back a little bit, because you mentioned something right at the very end that I found in my career a little bit, some of the places I've been in. This will be familiar to you because you've been there a number of times, but the Viero Center in Kearney, Nebraska, where the Tri-City Storm play, I used to broadcast for the team out there. And listen, man, Piv's from Long Island. I'm from North Jersey. You're from New York. We all kind of speak the same language in terms of how we say certain things and stuff, but it's different in other parts of the country. And I remember when I went into the supermarket in Kearney for the first time, and like, there's people just having full on 30-40 minute conversations with each other. And you go to check out and at the supermarket, and like people actually, the person that might like bag your groceries, or, hey, like, how you doing today? Like, what's going on? And first it's kind of like can throw you off. And then you're like, wow, this is like a small community. People really care about each other. And I have to imagine for you, maybe back when you were a teenager and you were getting ready to go to BU and you end up in Waterloo, that it must have been somewhat similar for you perhaps. And what would you say was a time in your life where Europe aside, I'm talking about like the US, where you really had to adjust, and it made you a better person as a young adult for what was around you?
Geez, man, I've
been around. That's the issue.
Yeah. Let me Rolodex here. Honestly, I think the hardest time for me was probably when I went to prep school. I was younger, knew I loved to play hockey, but was still unsure about how much I really wanted to be away from home and do it. Like I tell kids all the time, my parents used to hang the phone up on me. And a pay phone, not a cell phone. I only had a certain amount of quarters. So I want to come home, click. I'm like, oh my God. So really just developing new friends and a brotherhood there, away from your childhood friends, away from everything that you're used to, and putting yourself out there to learn new people, learn new teachers, learn a new schedule. I think that was the hardest first 2 or 3 weeks I've ever had to deal with in my life as it pertains to my hockey career, right? I've been sent down from NHL camp, sent down from an AHL camp, moved to Europe. But the first time doing that, when you're moving away from mommy and daddy and brother and sister and your best friends, that's really nerve-wracking for me anyway. Very, very nerve-wracking. But then you find out, you go through a routine and you look around and everyone else is going through the same thing that you are, and they're okay. They're able to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And then you learn, okay, I can do this. And then you learn, I can excel at this. I like this. I like this challenge. So then when you go anywhere else, you have that foundation to your house, and you can just keep adding different stories. And I think if you take the right approach, that just continues through your whole life, no matter where you're at. You have that foundation of, I'm uncomfortable right now. Okay, how did I make myself feel comfortable again? Okay, I got to go X, Y, and Z and do these things, and then I'll be back to where I want to be physically and mentally. So yeah, I think the biggest challenge was definitely the first couple of weeks when I was up at Northwood.
And that's such a strange time in your life too, not only just because you're away from home, but the age you are too. I mean, that's a prime age where you're still developing a lot of different skills that you're, going to be used later in life. And to be able to have your parents basically throw you in that situation, trial by fire, here you go have fun, go make it, what it needs to be. I mean, that's got to also make you grow up pretty quickly as well. It's like, okay, I don't have mommy and daddy to go call and go complain about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's trial by fire. Like, my dad slid a contract in front of me at the dinner table. It's like, write your name on there. What is it? You're going to Northwood. I am? Okay. Sounds good. But yeah, sometimes that's the best way. Get out there, like throw the dog in the water. He'll figure out how to swim out. Now, if not, it's not going to go well. But, with what we do now too, a lot of kids want to go play junior hockey right away. And it's like, okay, you're ready to go be around 19, 20-year-old kids that aren't in school, have their own car, maybe have a job, have their own schedule. Where for me at Northwood, it was a little bit of a buffer. You're on your own, but you're not really on your own. Like, you have teachers living in the buildings with you. You're living with a roommate. Teachers are living next door, right? How much trouble can you really get into? And even if you do, your teachers are there to guide you through it, or, quote unquote, get you out of that trouble. But if you do it the right way and you have a good head on your shoulders, I think it's a good stepping stone to move forward and really actually be on your own, because hopefully you've learned some life skills that are going to help you when things do get turned upside down a bit, inevitably.
So my late grandfather, may he rest in peace, great man, went to school at a place on Com Ave that's not named Boston College, but he went to the right side of Com Ave, Boston University, class of 1996. He was in the theology school, and he as like a communications major. Back in the day, it wasn't like a school, but he was like a communications, like business, whatever. And he was the first one. He's from Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and was the first one to move away more than like the town over from Pawtucket, Rhode Island. And he moved an hour away, and it was the biggest deal in the world that someone in the 50s was going to go more than an hour away to college in Boston University. Same class as a guy by the name of Martin Luther King Jr., who attended Boston University. He did not know him. That's the story he would lead off with, no matter what. BU's a special place, man. You're right in Boston. Boston's a special city. I went and visited BU, but I mean, I don't know if I would have been able to focus on grades. I had to go to a little bit more of a weaker academic institution, a little bit away from everything. Syracuse's journalism program is great. BU's academics are just top notch. So BU, give us, it's been many years ago, but give us that experience, your college experience at BU, Jack Parker, the hockey, the rivalries, the parties, the restaurants, just give us what you got here on Boston University, please.
It's a special place. I actually always wanted to go to BC, but Jerry York wouldn't give me the time of day. Literally wouldn't give me the time of day. Coach Parker saw me play once, offered me a full ride. Let's go where you're wanted, right? That's the first lesson about BU, go where you're wanted. But no, it was amazing. You have unbelievable hockey players that have gone through there. Coaching was top notch, learning about, a lot about the details, little things that for me, I never thought about. That doesn't what? Okay. Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. So basically playing for a genius and Jack Parker and he will push you, right? Taskmaster for sure, but it prepares you for life. It's different though. Like you're in the city, so there's not as many house parties going on. You're more going to bars, and you're in the mix with, there's 57 schools in Boston, right? Something like that, 60 schools in a 9-mile radius. It's absurd. So there was no lack for having a good time. Probably got in a little bit of trouble along the way as well. No harm, no foul. But we just had great guys. My roommate from college was my roommate in pro hockey for 6 years. Ryan Weston was his name. So that was super special. He's like a brother to me. It's fun to see them still doing well. I wasn't, I went and called my number every now and then. I was more, there to play hockey and kind of on that path a little bit more than probably should have had a little bit more fun if I look back on it now. But my task was, hey, they brought me here to win hockey games. That's what I'm here for. But yeah, it was a good time over in Brookline there with the lacrosse house, playing Edward 40 hands and seeing who could get through the rack of beer faster or whatever it might be. It was a different podcast, but we certainly called our numbers when it was time, and some guys more than other, but we had a lot of success as well. So I think we won almost 100 games when I was there, which is something I look back on, and I'm super proud to be a part of those wins with all those guys. And we won 3 bean pots as well. We won a Hockey East championship. We were ranked number 1 in the country my sophomore year going to the national tournament. So success on the ice, a lot of learning and growing off the ice. College is interesting. Everyone's at a different point in their life when you're in college. Right? Some guys are mature. Some guys aren't as mature. Some guys have a different focus. I think if you come out of college a better person than you were when you went there, regardless of how many goals, points, or wins you had, I think that's a win. For me, I think I became a better person from day one to the last one. So I'll consider BU a success for me.
You got to go into BU as a winner. I know Finer is going to touch on it a little bit more. Your season in the USHL with the Waterloo Blackhawks.
I could tell you 4 guys on that team because they beat Tri-City in the finals, if I'm not mistaken. Conference finals or the finals?
Finals.
Yeah. Joe Pavelski. Sorry to cut you off, Pip. Joe Pavelski. Derek Whitmore, who I worked with in Reading. Awesome Whit at Mercyhurst now. Just an absolutely tremendously awesome human being. Oh, my goodness. I'm forgetting more guys. Go ahead, Piv.
No, I was actually going to feed you that question because I know you're the USHL guy and
PK O'Hanley, who once told me one of the most interesting guys I've ever met in person, head coach of Waterloo, still the head coach of Waterloo.
Legend.
Winningest coach USHL history, once said to me, and he apologized not profusely, but he apologized to me because I asked him hey, I'm 22 years old at the time, and I just moved to Kearney. Hey, I'm the broadcaster for Tri-City. I was wondering if you had 3 or 4 minutes for a quick interview that we'd play on the radio talking about your team this season. He said, absolutely. We started. Then he cut me off and he said, I'm sorry. I have a very bad habit that my wife has been yelling at me about for 20 years. And he pulled the dip out and stuck it. That's just so PK how he.
Oh, man. He's amazing. Our first meeting we had there, he gave us the whole spiel, what you can, what you can't do, what's expected of you. It leaves the room. We're all like, oh man, can we, they were be able to do it, boys? That's a big list. And he rips back in the room and we're like, oh my God, what do we do? And he goes, last thing, most importantly, you can chew. Here we go. Hilarious. When you would be yelling at us on the bench, if you had a visor, chew spits all over your face, you got to wipe it off. Like, what did he say? I couldn't handle it. All the spit was coming at me. Guy was unbelievable. Had an absolute blast. Learned so much from PK. What a great group that was.
Championship team too. I mean, it doesn't get much better. I'm trying to remember some of the guys on the 03-04 Storm team. I know there's a few that have had.
Bill Thomas, Rastislav Spirko. There's a Dingle on there, Ryan Dingle, Chris Zarb. You guys had 23, 24 D1 commits on that team. You were supposed to smoke us, but we had Kevin Regan in goal, so we win.
Having Joe Pavelski doesn't hurt at all. USHL is a special league, man. I'm glad that you were able to experience it from the playing standpoint. I mean, juniors is always, whether it's USHL, but it's awesome that you're out there in Waterloo for sure. I want to continue with, we talk about guys, they sign their first pro contract, they continue on with your career. And, back in 2009, 2010, it's the same thing as, whether you're in the league now, like there's changeability, or we might be with two teams in one season. Eventually in 11-12, you ended up and had a stint with the Las Vegas Wranglers. What was that like? What was the hockey community like playing at the Orleans Arena there? I mean, obviously they're done so well. What was that year like for you playing for the Wranglers?
That was incredible. For me, it kind of springboarded my pro career. I had a couple good years in Rockford, but they were Chicago was stacked. That was when they were winning the cup. So there was not a lot of opportunity there other than what I was given, right? That's kind of how pro hockey works. It's not about, it's a lot about timing and what they need and injuries and all that. So I ended up signing in Phoenix with the idea I was going to play a whole lot. And I ended up ruining my shoulder. I got in a fight with Ryan White, who was a former NHLer. And I ripped my shoulder out. I was out for the year. I had to have a surgery. So I knew that I could have gotten back in the American League, but I needed to play, right? That's what a lot of young kids and what we do with our company now. You want to go play. And if you don't play, who cares what team you're on? No one's going to see you. Like, I want to look back. I played. It's fun. So a guy that I know played with for 3 games was the head coach in Vegas. And there was no affiliation there, meaning they could sign anybody. And no one was getting sent to him. He didn't have, like, sometimes what fans don't realize, and if they're watching this, a lot of times decisions that coaches have in the ECHL, it's out of their hands. They get sent a player, you're playing them. Done. You're playing them in this position, playing them in that position, even if there are better players. That's just how it goes. Maybe I'll get in trouble for saying that. Whatever. In Vegas, it was the coach's decision. Right? No one was sending him anyone. So he got to pick his own team, and he had us help pick the team. Like, pick good players, but pick good people. Right? We want to have a good locker room, because in the Coast, even in the American League, everyone wants to go up, right? You want to move up. You want to make more money. You want to play in a higher league. But we knew in Vegas, hey, if we have a run, we're all going, all of us. So basically, we got a great group of guys together. Guys like Ryan Weston, Jeff May, Barry Goers, Jack Campbell, Adam Miller, Judd Blackwater. We had studs, Eric Lampy. We had top 5 scorers in the league. We all went up to the American League that year. We all came back. We made it to the finals, ran into some injuries, and played a really good Florida team that ended up beating us. But if you look at that roster, a lot of those guys went on and had pretty successful careers, whether it was Barry Goers playing for a number of years in Wilkes-Barre, or Judd Blackwater, who just won a championship over in Slovakia. Joe Fallon was our goalie. So we just had a really nice group of people first that were also really good at hockey. So it made it enjoyable. We knew that if you look left or right, if I don't have my best stuff, these guys got it. 100%. Like, we're coming to play and win this game. So for me, being in that type of atmosphere with a coach that really wanted me, got to play a ton. If I made a mistake, I knew I was going back out, and he knew that I would work hard to make up for it. So it really gave me that confidence after being injured that I could be successful at pro hockey, even though it was the ECHL. It doesn't matter. It's pro hockey. It's pro hockey. So that was an amazing experience. Fans were awesome. Sold out most of the games. We did some interesting stuff like midnight games or college night, or Carrot Top and Mike Tyson came and dropped opening pucks for us. So it was a great experience. And I was surprised by the fans. And now I'm not surprised at all about how well they do, because those people love hockey and they know how to get excited and they know how to support the guys in a way that's not overbearing. So I couldn't say enough about my time in Vegas.
So Pete, you're 35 years old now. You're going to be 36 in a few months. And I know when I chatted with you today to get you on this podcast, you were in the middle of a workout, man. You're still getting after it. You're still in the gym, still training. And from what I hear, the plan is to still lace them up next season. Is that correct?
That's the plan. Yeah. I'm part of this company called Coast to Coast Player Development. So I've got, 20 guys here right now, college, pro, junior, 18U, AAA, that are training and skating every day of the week. I can't just watch them. So I hop in there and make the workouts and make the training on ice, and I take care of my body as well. So yeah, right now the plan is to play some hockey and help the Thunder kind of get back on their feet, so to speak, and get out there and compete for some wins again.
Yeah, from the community standpoint too, I mean, Evan will know it a little bit better than I do, but I mean, that community there, Glens Falls, it's a special place. Like, people care about the team. The story I tell Evan is that the times my laptop charger is broken, which has happened twice when I'm in Glens Falls, and I got to slug an Uber up to the Aviation Mall there and myself a new laptop. Every Uber driver I've had they know they're picking me up from the Queensberry, so they figure like they don't think I'm a player, but they're like, hey, like, they can kind of tell I'm working for the opposing team, and they have a conversation with you about like the Reading Royals and about the Thunder and their affiliation with the team over the years. So playing in that type of community, what does that mean to you, to have the fans being so invested, a true sort of pro hockey, everybody knows what's going on, small community atmosphere?
Yeah, it's awesome. You can't ask for much more, especially at our level, when the people are invested in it, right? Because it makes you invested in it. And in that town, in the town and on the ice, it's a fishbowl, right? If you're not doing the right things, if you're not working your butt off, they're going to let you know, right? They're going to hold you accountable. I was fortunate enough to play there since I was a little guy. I can remember watching the Red Wings. I can remember watching my dad's high school team play. Played AAA hockey there for a few years. So for me, it's even more, it's tenfold. When I go on the ice there, there's a feeling, right? I can feel it right now. It's just there, you can't describe it. It's so much fun, and they give you energy. Even as an older guy, you just want to go out there and buzz for them, because that's what they expect from you. And it's fair, right? That's what we should do. They're spending hard-earned money to come watch us go out there and compete, right? If you don't win, you don't win. But if you compete, I think they're pretty fair with you. So it really is special. They know how to treat us. They've been watching high-level hockey for a long, long, long time, right? Longer than most of the guys on the team have been alive. So yeah, I could go on and on about how truly special not only the rink, but just the community in that whole area is, and what it means to me and my whole family, to be honest with you.
Now, Mac, as we start to wrap up with you here, I know you got a couple of things to do this afternoon. What we usually ask our guests, whether it be in the broadcast realm or in the player realm, when you became a professional hockey player, there's always that one moment that kind of wakes you up and says, oh, I got to get my head on straight here. I'm a professional hockey player now. What was your welcome to the pros moment? Whether it be something, on the road that someone called you out on, what was it for you?
Oh, that's an easy one. First scrimmage, not with referees. So we're in training camp in Chicago, my first year. I'm back checking and they turn the puck over. So I'm on the opposite side of the ice from the benches. So the puck turns over, I grab it, turn away from the benches, head back toward my goal and make a pass. And Patrick Sharp had come on the ice on a change, and I didn't see him, and he hit me in the ear. Not a dirty hit, he just hit me, not hard. I was sleeping like this on the ice, literally for like 10 seconds. I woke up in the locker room, and Dustin Bufflin's helped me put my stuff away. And he's like, how are you, Mac? How are you? I'm like, oh, I'm fine. Just call my mom. He's like, what? I'm good. Just call my girlfriend. What? Buff, I'm fine. Just call my mom. He's like, we got to go to the trainer, man. So that was the first, like, holy Hannah, I got to start wearing a mouth guard out here. But that was definitely, it's an easy one to remember. I've had a couple of those things happen since that were just run of the mid happens in the game, but that was definitely okay. Like, he hardly touched me and I'm asleep, taking an ice nap here in the middle of the United Center. I better get up.
It's been a joy. Thank you for hopping on, Peter MacArthur. Future forward, we're hoping in 21-22 back with the Adirondack Thunder, local guy around Glens Falls too. Absolute blast. Thanks for coming on, Mac.
Yeah, no problem, guys. I'm happy to see you guys with smiles on your faces and trying to keep people up to date with the league. So hopefully I'll be there opening night with bells on, and I hope everybody stays safe and can enjoy their families again.
Well, thanks a lot, Mac. That's Pete MacArthur. This has been another episode of Coastin I'm Evan Pivnick. That's been David Fine. Thanks for tuning in. And Coastin, of course, is presented by FloHockey.tv.